Praveen sir, Deepak Chaudhary, anything else you would want to add to that open-ended conversation?
No, absolutely. I agree with Rishan. I agree with you. Uh, the complexity should not deter you from putting hard work. And if you recall the session that in which Abhishek Pitti, who is the CEO and founder of IBC Media, he was talking about the the grand opportunities available in blockchain, which is absolutely correct, and we see the market very closely. But at the same time, if you look at these protocols, these companies, they need very specific skill set. So you need to become industry ready by understanding the core concepts. And when I say core concepts, it really includes the concept of the programming languages. It includes the concept of the underlying ecosystem, the blockchain ecosystem, such as the consensus mechanisms. How do blocks get formed? How do you access the data? How do you store your data, etc., etc. And finally, the business ecosystem being part of that as well. So once you understand these things in the layers, then only you become employable, then only you become valuable to these companies. And that's what we're trying to do. If you look at the program that IBC Media has come up with, all these components have been fitted in, structured, pretty appropriately. Starting you with the foundational concepts, and then taking you deep dive into the programming concepts. But it does not stop here, because it really has to go to the next level, where you start visualizing the business problems which are there around us. And then how do you take an approach? How do you really go ahead and start solving those problems by building solutions on top of these blockchains? And of course, that will come in module 3. But the point, what I'm trying to make here is that it is a whole package, and you need to be a part of this whole, the session length that we are offering to all of you, to be really taking the best out of it. So, and active participation is very, very essential, and Rishan will drive your participation today. While Rishan will be teaching you, he will also be putting some questions at the end of, after he's done talking about a particular topic, so that he gauges the level of understanding that you have developed on top of that. And then, of course, you go back home. Nowadays, there is no paucity or scarcity of the content on the internet, so you could definitely go deeper into all of these things. Try making your hands dirty by writing few lines of code and see how it behaves, etc., and etc. So I think it's pretty interesting, guys, in my opinion. Take the best out of what IBC Media is trying to give. Deepak?
Absolutely, sir. On that note, laying that conversation as the foundation of our session today, guys, the importance of Rust is super. And do check out the articles that we have shared and the content that we have shared and links that we have shared in the chat group. With that, without any further ado, we'll start with the session. Rishan, so guys, today we have Rishan. He will be with us explaining and working with you on the Rust programming languages, Rust programming language. So make sure that you ask as many questions as possible while the session is going on, because this is going to be your foundation towards Substrate, which is the language that you will use to build projects on Polkadot and its other ecosystem companies, right? So, Rishan, it's great to have you. Waiting for you to start the conversation here.
Okay, thank you, Deepak Chaudhary. Thank you, Deepak Singh, and also Praveen sir for quoting the importance of Rust. So now we can slowly start the session. As we have discussed what is the importance of Rust so clearly, and it's also used in blockchain, Polkadot, as well as in Substrate implementation. So it's really important for you to learn Rust if you're working on Web3 and blockchain. Also, it is literally important for you to learn Rust if you're working into IoT these days. Also into operating system development, game development, and literally anywhere. Like you can also do web development using Rust, but then I won't suggest it right now because it's in a growing stage. You won't have much libraries out there, but then if you are so interested, then please do discover those fields also. Like it's up to your choice, and you can choose web development because there are upgrowing backend frameworks like Rocket, and then front end you can have you with Rust. Yeah. Now you'll start the session. Let's see. Okay. So the first question that we have in our mind is, what is Rust? So to make it simple, Rust is actually a language, and it's a programming language. Okay, we can understand. We all know that. Now, it is a multi-paradigm language. That means you can do two kinds or multi kinds of programming using Rust. That means you can do both functional, procedural, object-oriented. These all implementations can be done using Rust, most of them. And also, Rust is considered to be as Stack Overflow's most loved language for 4 years in consecutive, and that is not a joke at all. So that actually codes the importance of Rust in the field of software development from 2020, I guess, because from 2020, Rust has been so popular. The importance have been addressed by most of the large MNCs like Microsoft, Linux, Dropbox, and Cloudflare has been so popularly implementing Rust these days. And obviously, the demand supply curve for jobs in Rust, is increasing rapidly. So if you are learning Rust, obviously you'll get some of the high-paid jobs out there. Then Rust was designed by Graydon Hoare, and it was like a personal project for Graydon Hoare at Mozilla when he was working at Mozilla. Then Mozilla just started to fund this project, and later on it was released as a kind of stable version in 2015. And now we can use Rust, and it's a really amazing language. It is fun to use, and it has got its cons and pros. You have to play with it to see all the features and all the sides here. Now, there are other features with some technical jargons like scalability and concurrency. So it simply means that you can build heavy applications with lightweighted components of code. And also it is used in IoT. Now, IoT implementation is literally important because that means it can communicate with hardware very easily. Okay. And it should be literally fast in order to communicate with hardware so easily. And also it is memory safe. So all these concepts make Rust so ideal for us to choose. I believe I'm audible, right? I think it's okay. If in
Yes,
case
Rishan, absolutely. Yes,
okay,
you're
okay,
perfectly fine.
okay. Thank you for the confirmation. So now it also has asynchronous model. Now, what is asynchronous model? Means we have a single server, and then we do have multiple clients connecting to that server. We do have two approaches in this kind of scenario. The first one is multi-threading, but then the problem is multi-threading is a bit costly. So we would then choose asynchronous model. Now, I'm not going to discuss a lot deep into what is asynchronous modeling. I think it's actually a very advanced topic as far as Rust is concerned. We will not be discussing it in the session also. But if you are interested, do check it out, because I think is actually one field that Edu worked in. I think Tokyo and Mio, these are our networking concept where we use these kind of grades to implement the protocols and create our own grades. Yeah. Very interesting fields, but then it's like getting into a forest, so you'll have to figure out a lot of your things all by yourself. And as Praveen sir just mentioned before, it is considered as one of the best language for WebAssembly, comparable with C or C++. You know that most of the slow languages can be used in WASM. So Rust is one of the most best language that you can use for WebAssembly. WebAssembly is so versatile, it allows you to bring any kind of application into your web browser. That is so amazing. You can use AutoCAD in your web browser. You can take AutoCAD in your mobile phone in your web browser. That is really amazing. That is the future. And obviously, that's going to bring a lot of change in the software development era. So it is important for us as software developers to get updated with the latest technologies, and Rust is one of them. So, yeah. Now, what are those features of Rust that make it so peculiar? We'll discuss that. The first important feature that we will now with this statement, like safety and enhanced memory management without a garbage collector. Now, let me emphasize on that point. Garbage collector is something that is being used in Python actually to remove the dangling pointers or free up the space that has been allocated. Okay, now, but the problem with garbage collector is that you don't have to worry about pointers any at all, because garbage collectors are going to resolve it for you. But then the problem is it makes the system slow. And moreover, there could be wastage of memory happening with garbage collectors. Whereas in the other hand, you have explicit memory allocation and freeing. This is implemented in C++, but this has been a headache for nearly decades, because then you will have to know a different kinds of pointer errors, and then you will need to implement solutions for these kind of pointer errors, which is literally difficult, because you are actually working on a piece of code, or you are going to implement a piece of software, and you need not have to worry about these kind of errors, right? So most programmers won't obviously see these pointer errors, and this is going to be a $1 billion mistake. This was once quoted by a great computer scientist, that pointers and null pointer errors, the introduction of null was one of the major reasons why companies do lack a lot of buggy software. Sorry, do have a lot of buggy software. Okay, so it's better to have a system which actually embarks a combination of explicit as well as garbage collector mechanism, and that is what Rust uses. And we will discuss about that topic in the second session. A very clear and deep session will be taken regarding ownership and borrowing. This is considered as one of the most important topics in Rust. So you should all attend that session, because that is going to be the most core subject that we will discuss in the entire sessions. Okay. Then zero cost abstraction. Zero cost abstraction refers to usage of collections and higher level data types, including generics. And when we do abstraction, the problem is we want to save execution time. So we will have very less execution time, but then our compile time is going to be a little bit higher in case of zero cost abstraction implementations. Okay. And it also reduces data compile time in normal cases. And it gives you a low level control for programming instruction. That is what I had just referred before. That is in case of IoT devices. Okay. Now, if you see to the syntax, it is similar to C++, but then it is not exactly like C++. It is like a combination of Python and C++. So it's much more easier to read and understand if you know it well. Yeah. Now it is a time for a small quiz. I will just start a poll, and I will give you around 40 seconds to answer. You can take the time and then just answer 2 questions from the topics that we have discussed till now. Okay, your time starts now. Just utilize this time to answer 2 questions that will be seen in your poll right now. Okay, 40 minutes is up, so I'm going to end the poll and I'll share the results. Yeah, so I'm showing the correct answers to everyone. The first question, it's like 60% people have given is true. So Rust uses garbage collector for memory management. The right answer is false, because Rust does not use garbage collector. That's what I said before. Okay. And who designed Rust? Yeah, everyone has got it right. Yeah, we are good to go. And I think I didn't close the polls, so stop sharing. Okay. Okay, we will continue with the slides.
Yeah, Resham, just one query we have. Sir, can you make clear explanation for the garbage collection, if we can address that?
So should I need to explain it right now? Because it's second session, we will be having clear discussion, right? Because garbage
Okay,
collector
so
is that. Okay.
yeah, please continue.
No, we will have a good discussion about the garbage collector, the ownership, and our mechanisms in the second session. Should you want me to reply right now? I can.
You can continue with the PPT. I'll take the session.
Right now.
Yes, yes.
You want me to? Okay. Then basically garbage collector
No,
is
Christian,
the second.
you can continue with your PPT. I'll take this.
Okay. Okay, then that will be fine. Okay. So you will continue with the session. Okay. And now the first thing that we'll discuss is how to get Rust into our system. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to click on this link, or else you can just directly go to the Rust Lang session and you can see the website here where you can download Rust from. So what you need to do is you need to click on this download Rust init exe 64-bit. If you are a Windows user, okay, even if you're a Linux user, you will have this method and then you can just install it. Okay. Or you can choose to have try Rust without installing. This gives you access to a playground. But then I won't suggest you to do that because we are going to use the terminal for most of the inputs and output. Okay, so I would suggest you to go and download Rust init. Now, if you are a Windows subsystem for Linux user, I don't know how many people are using WSL, but I'm using WSL. So if you are using WSL, then you should have another terminal like this. Yeah, I think you can see the screen, right? Yeah. So that's a choice up to you. Whether if you have WSL, it is nice, then you can have this Ubuntu kind of implementation in Windows. Accept your choice. Then how to install? So that's just install this. Then for just download this Rust init exe and then follow the instructions as they say in the terminal. And then obviously what we will do is we need to bring Rust after completing the installation. You need to bring Rust into the environment variables. Okay, so after completing the installation, you will be installing the cargo to a particular location. Okay, now that location will be displayed on your terminal. Just take a copy of it and then click the start button and type env, edit the environment variables, go to the environment variables. Can you see my screen with the environment variables? Hello?
No.
No, you cannot, right? So I don't know how to share that. Okay, can you see it right now? There is an environment variables. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I think you can see the next environment variables also. Okay. Now you click the path and then you give edit. Okay. Inside the edit, you have options to add and delete all the environment variables. So you need to add the place where you have downloaded Rust into. If it is C or D, where are you actually going to install it? Then take the bin location of it and then add it to the environment variable. Then click OK and then click OK again and then apply and OK. That's it. You're ready. What you need to do is after doing this, you need to restart your system as well as restart your terminal so that Rust is installed into your system. Okay, then you can check this via your terminal with Rust. No, not Rust, but Cargo 1990 version. Okay, so when I type Cargo 1990, it shows my Cargo version 1.5.1. So if this is actually not showing in your screen, then obviously you got it messy somewhere under. So you need to try reinstalling it. Now installation, I'm not going to show the installation, but if you can try it yourself, just you need to install this download Rust init. And Rust is the tool chain which contains the Rust compiler, the cargo, the packet manager, then Rust up itself. Okay, and then you can go and add it to the environment. So if you have tried similar environment variable implementations or try installing C or C++, and obviously you'll be knowing this, or else you can try it for the first time. So it will be an easy task for you to do. Okay. Now, with that, we'll continue the presentation. So after installing Rust and adding the path of installation to your environment variables, now you can install VS Code or any other terminal-oriented IDE of your choice, whether it is Sublime, Eclipse, or anything. I would suggest VS Code because VS Code is very easy to use. It's versatile. It has got a lot of extensions that make it more easier to code with Rust. Yeah. Then you can, after installing VS Code, you need to install the Rust Analyzer extension in VS Code. This will be an easy task. Once you have VS Code, you can go, I think you can see my screen with the VS Code, right? Yeah. Okay. You can go to the extensions and then just type Rust. So you will see the Rust Analyzer as one of those extensions, and just download this Rust Analyzer so that we will have support using our Rust Analyzer extension. Okay. Now, with all these set, we are ready to write our first program in Rust. Okay. So the first program that we will write according to the convention in Rust would be the Hello World program. And this program will involve us to print a message called Hello World into the terminal. It's an easy program to implement, and this is how we start to learn programming into any language. So we will follow the convention, not changing anything. Okay, the Hello World program. So before creating the Hello World program, you can do this in two methodologies, but I would suggest creating a project and then executing it. Okay, so how to create a Rust project using the terminal? This is the first question that we will address right now. Now, I'll come here and then go, either you could have two choices. First, then open a particular folder where you want to program and bring it into VS Code by adding folder to workspace, and then choose the folder so that it will be inside the VS Code. Okay. And then after having this here, you can just type Control Shift and then the apostrophe. So you will get the terminal around here, or else you will have a choice to take the terminal from the menu. Okay. So you can either use this terminal, which is actually present inside VS Code IDE, which is a native one, or else you can have your own terminal, whether it is CMD or PowerShell or anything. Just make sure that you're at the current directory. Okay, the current directory should be Rust. Okay, that's it. Now we need to create a Rust project. So the first command that we will type in to create a new project will be cargo new and then the project name. So my project name is going to have the name project. So now I'm going to create a new Rust project. It created a new Rust project for me. And if you see inside Rust, you can see, right? Yeah, a project has been created. Now, if you see that project will have three main components. It contains an SRC folder, a git ignore, and a cargo.toml. Okay. Now I'm going to explain what are these things. So SRC contains a main.rs. So this is the main.rs file, which contains the fn main. Now this is the part of this is the file that we are going to execute each time when we are going to type cargo run in our terminal. Okay. Then we have the git ignore. What is git ignore? Git ignore contains those things that we do not want to push while we are working with Git. Okay. So it contains a /target. And why do we add this /target? Because then it contains the libraries that we add into the system, and we do not want to take these libraries into Git, because then it would be a tedious task to do so, because you cannot actually set them. Okay. So that's why we add this /target git ignore. You can add other files into git ignore. You might have used git ignore sometimes, or this is the first time. Then git ignore is used while we are working with Git. Those files which we do not want to push into the Git be added to the git ignore. Okay. And then we have the cargo.toml. Cargo.toml is used to add dependencies that we require. That means if you want a particular kind of dependency or library to be installed, then the first thing that you need to do is need to go to a new terminal, and then you need to go to crates.io, and that will contain, I think you can see my screen, right? Yeah. So crates.io, and here you can find all the crates that are present for Rust, whether if it is rand, sin, async, anything. You can just click on one, and then you will see how to get it, because you can just, yeah, rand is equal to, so it is the dependency name, and then you will have its version. Now once you add this into the system, The second thing that you'll consider, once we add it into your system, then we will do a cargo build to install all these dependencies into our system. Okay. And we will have a cargo run to execute our program. And these are the steps that we will follow. So you can add any kind of dependency and then do cargo build to bring these dependencies into your system. Okay. Now, see, this main file contains a boilerplate code right now, and this contains a fn main print ln, and we have got an exclamation mark, and we have got a message. Okay, before explaining the code, let us see what happens when we execute the code. So the command to execute a Rust code, okay, before is cargo run, but we need to change our directory to the project folder. Yeah, so cd project. Once you do cd project, you'll get into the project, and then we can do cargo run. So cargo run executes the main file, and the main function is a mandatory function for us to run a file. Okay, so for us to run a Rust file, we require a main file for sure, main function for sure. Now you can see that in our screen we have got hello world got printed up. Okay, yeah. Now what are these components? So fn means define a function, and here we are using the main keyword, so it's a main function, and then
Hey, Rishan.
we have no parameters to be.
Hey, Rishan, sorry to interrupt, bro. Can we
Okay.
increase the font size?
Font size. Okay, sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Is this visible right now?
If one more we can put.
One more. Okay, that is
Yeah,
going to be
perfect.
so- okay.
If it's fine for
Okay.
you, then this is good.
Okay. It's a bit big for me. It makes okay.
So we
Well,
can reduce one if it's a problem for you. Otherwise, that's fine.
okay, now it's not a problem as we are not writing a large code, right? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Good.
So fn main and then println hello world. Okay. So this now we have discussed the main function, right? Yeah. Now we will discuss what is println. So this is actually not a function; it's a macro. So we are not going into a deeper sense of what is function and macro. The difference is somewhat obvious. Macro, what happens is in function, it is actually a deeper sense of implementation as far as a computer architecture is concerned. What we will do is, as far as a function is concerned, once the function definition or a function call is seen, then the control is sent to the function definition, and then it starts executing the function definition and then comes back to where the control has been relieved. Okay. So this requires some time because we need the program control block, the return statements to be stored into the stack, and so on. So computer architecture concepts that we are not going to discuss. That then in macro, what it does is it expands the macro code into your current source code. That is kind of easy way of doing it because then you do not have to waste your time returning control from where you have jumped off. You do not also have to use the PCB or the program control block. That's kind of easy way. So this is why we actually use a println macro here, and we will pass the string that needs to be printed into the println macro function. You can see this is a standard macro, and that's all. Yeah. So this is how we print a content into the screen by using Rust. So we have covered a very simple program using Rust. You should try this program today itself because this is one of the most easiest program that you can write in Rust. With that, we'll continue with the slides again. You can see the slide, yeah. So yeah, this was the understanding part. We will go through this again. Fn main defines the main function. The body was wrapped using two of these wrappers, and this is this is called as a function body wrapper. Okay, function body wrapper. That braces in, that will be called as a function body. And then we will have a print macro used to print the contents enclosed into function.
Hey, Rishan,
And hello,
your PPT is not showing.
my PPT is not visible. Okay. Is it visible right now?
Yeah.
I think
Yes,
it's
it's
visible right
visible.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, then we have a syntax similar to C++ and cargo is backend. Yeah. Now we will have another quiz regarding the program part that we have discussed right now. Okay. And you will be given around 40 minutes again. Please do try the questions and try to make it right. Yeah, your time starts now. Your time is coming to an end. Do answer first. Yeah, you come to an end. You'll share your results. I think you can see the correct answers right now. And the first question for text wrapping, around 44% have given the right answer. 34 have got it wrong. Okay, text wrapping is actually done with that closing and opening and closing brackets. Okay, that brace symbols. And the second question, everyone has got right. Most of them has got right. So stop sharing. Okay. Go to the next part. And now on, we will start to discuss some of the theory as well as the concepts. Here, we will be learning what is a variable and how we can have a mutable and immutable variable. What is mutability in all sense? Okay. So variables are any value holding component. So when we define let x equal to 2, that means I'm giving the value 2 to the variable x. Okay. It's simple. So variables means it can hold. It's just like the variables in mathematics, where you can actually assign a value for any variable, right? Like y is equal to mc square or y is equal to mx plus c, anything similar to that. Yeah. So a variable can hold any component. Now these variables names should have standard conventions to be followed as far as any language is concerned. Okay. Even Rust also has some conventions to be followed. And then we have two kinds of variables as Rust is concerned, and that is mutable variable and immutable variable. Okay. So what is mutability? Mutability means you can change the contents of a variable. Okay. So that means if I am going to define let x equal to 20, that means at some other point of time, I should be able to change its value to some other value. So if I'm defining let x equal to 20, at some point of time, I should be able to change it to x equal to 50, 20, 50. Okay. And I will be showing a simple demo for that, so you don't have to worry about these concepts. Okay, just bear with me for the concept explanation. And a mutable variable value can be changed at any time, but immutable variables can be changed. Okay. See, good example will be let x equal to 20 will be a declaration that I'll be doing. Okay, then x equal to 25 will generate an error because in Rust, by default, if you are trying to define a variable, see, let x equal to 20, that is how we will define a variable in Rust. You need to keep the let keyword before the variable name in order to give it a particular value. I think that is clear. Okay, then x equal to 25 means we are trying to change the value of x to 25. Now this generates an error because by default, x is immutable. That means you cannot change the value of x. Now this actually implements safety into Rust, and that is why this is one of the features why Rust is so good with handling variables. Okay. So to make a variable mutable, that means to allow a variable's value to be changed after instantiation, we will add a keyword called mute before the variable name. Okay. So let mute x equal to 20 allows us to change the value of x at any point of time. So now, if after defining here let mute x equal to 20, and I'm going to change the value x equal to 25, it is acceptable right now because I've added the mute keyword just before x. Okay. Now, there is another implementation that is called as constants. Now, constants and variables are two different entities. Okay. So a constant is never a variable, even if it is immutable. So an immutable variable is not a constant in any sense, because in constant, you need to define the data type initially, and you cannot change a constant to mutable at any point of time. That means once set, it is a global variable and you cannot change its value at any point of time. But An immutable variable can be then changed or later on changed. You can also use shadowing concept to locally change the value of what do you say, variables, but you cannot do that with constant. So constant is not an immutable variable. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Now we'll see a small demo of or implementation with Rust, how you'll work with variables. Okay. We say let x equal to 25. So I am giving my variable x 25. Now this is big. You can see this I32 that automatically popped up, right? And this is mainly because of the extension that I used. And there are some topics that we will have to discuss right now about the variables. So there are two kinds of implementations as far as variables are concerned. You can do it either statically or dynamically. Now, what do you mean by static? Static means you need to give the data type at the time of value initialization. That means if leave this example, let x I32 equal to 5. Now, what is this? I32 will come to that discussion. I32 means signed integer 32-bit. Okay. So it's similar to if you have been into programming, then you might know that is int, and there is long int. There are other implementations of int. Right? So this is a similar implementation in Rust where you can have signed 32-bit integers. So the implementation will be from 2 power 31 minus 2 power 30. You can have a lot of integers in this. Now, this is static implementation. That means I am referring the data type while I am defining the variable. That means let x I32 is the data type that I'm going to use, and then I'm passing the value 5. Okay. Okay. And that is static. So it is called as static data definition. Okay. Static data. And then you can have dynamic data. And one such example would be let x equal to the example is right in front of you. Like I have given let x equal to 25. So let y equal to 25. Yeah. So now what happens is that the compiler automatically identifies that this is an I32. Now it is a default usage to give I32. Okay. So this is dynamic. That means I have not specified the data type. The compiler automatically identifies the data type. Okay. So this is dynamic. Now, if you see that Python uses dynamic, whereas C++ uses static implementation, whereas static is literally faster when compared to dynamic. Okay. But as far as Rust is concerned, it will give some default implementation. So even if you do dynamic, it is not at all a problem. Now, how to print these variables and how to make it mutable. Okay, let x equal to 25. This was my implementation. Now print ln. And how to print variables. Okay, so to print variables, you need to add this string operator, and then you'll need to place another set of braces, and then you'll type the variable name. So this is how you print the contents of a variable. So to contents of a variable needs to be placed, then first you need to give this string operator. That means you need to put this apostrophe and then this colon or brackets. Okay, and this quotes, double quotes. And then you need to place this braces and this operator. Okay. Once these braces are present here, now this actually shows the content. Okay. Whatever you place after this comma will come to this location, and it will fill that location and gets printed into your terminal. Okay. Now we'll see how it runs. Cargo run. Yeah. So what happens is that it is executing, and then it prints 25. So my content of my x was 25, and it printed it as 25. Okay, this was the function we used to print, and this is how we print variables. Take a note of how we print in Rust. Okay, print variables in Rust. And you can also add a string in between, like value of x is this one. So what happens? It's just similar with a string added to the end. Okay, so now you can see value of x is 25. This is so simple to add multiple variables also. You just need to, so let me show. Let mute y is equal to 30. And I'm going to write here, and y is, and I'm going to placeholder my y here Yeah. So what happens? We will see the output. See the output. You can see that. Yeah. Value of X is 25 and Y is 30. Okay. I think you can see the output, right? Yes. Okay. Now the problem, it shows a warning that means a mute variable is set and I have not mutated the value. So we will check how mutability works. Now I'm going to give X equal to 30, which will show an error, but Y equal to 50 shouldn't show an error. Okay. Now we will execute this. You can see that maybe it's overwritten. Okay, you can see let X equal to 25. So first assignment to X, make this bind mutable in order to change X to 30. So you need to make this X mutable in order to change X value from 25 to 30. Okay. Now I wish you should also install one more extension called as error lens. So that would help you to see all the errors in hand before. Okay, error lens or code error lens. Like error lens is one of the best extension that you can use so that you can see the errors before compilation. And you can see my errors is actually shown on the side. So it is kind of makes your code easier to work with. It makes you fast. And also install tab9 or GitHub Copilot in case so that you can have code completions and makes your code flow easier to use. Yeah, that's it. Now, as you can see, the Rust prompted me to change it to mute. So I'm going to change it to mute. And now what happens? It allows me to change my X to 30. Now there won't be any error. Okay, you can see there won't be any error. Yeah, no errors. Okay. And that's your concept about mutability and immutability. So by default, it is immutable. So if you are not going to write this mute, then it is immutable. Okay. That's I do believe that I have explained your concept in clarity. And this will be an example for consideration. Do try out mutability and immutability today, sir, because those are concepts that you need to know from the beginning. Okay. And this is how we print multiple variables in Rust. Okay. Yeah. We'll go to the next slide. We didn't talk about the constant, right? Yeah, the constant is a similar implementation. What you need to do is just give the const keyword and then type in the name of the constant and then give its data type. Okay, it's very important for you to give the constant's data type right away. Okay, because it is not going to do it for you. The compiler wants to be fast as possible. Okay, so what it does is it wants its constants to be statically typed. And that's your point. So you need to give the data type and then you need to send it as 3.14. So constant's value cannot be changed at any point of time. That is the whole concept. It will be a constant. Now, what is the concept of shadowing? Shadowing is one of those concepts that is actually present in most of the languages. It is also present in Rust also. Now, what is shadowing? Shadowing allows you to have multiple set of values for the same variable in different blocks. I don't know whether this definition is clear to you, but let me explain once more. So look at this example. Here I have defined X and I have set its value to 5. So let X equal to 5. And I have created a normal block of code here. And then I have said let X equal to 10. How is this even possible? Because once I have created an immutable variable, I cannot change its value, right? But the fact you need to recognize is that this is another block of code. So as this is another block of code, you can have or you can create a variable X as this X only lives inside that block. Okay, that X only lives inside that block. So the scope of the inside of second X is only inside this block, and this is one reason why you can have shadowing concept implemented in Rust. I will show a demo so that the topic is clear to you. Let's begin with the same example. So I'm going to set let X equal to 20. Okay. And then I'm going to create a new block where I'm going to create just set let Y equal to, sorry, no, let X equal to 50. Okay. And both of these exist, right? So println X in outside the block is, and then X, and here you will try println X outside the block is X. Yeah. So whatever you type inside this block remains inside this block, and it has got nothing to do with the outside. Okay. So you can have the same variable set to different values, even if it is mutable. And what will we see? Just try to execute this code. Yeah. Take some time to compile and then produce a result. Yeah. X inside the block is 50 and X outside the block is 20. So the value of X is 50 inside this block, and outside this block, the value was set to 20. This concept is called a shadowing. So with the inside the block, I'm shadowing the value of X equal to 20 with X equal to 50 inside the block. And this is called shadowing. Okay. This is one of those implementations, but not so very important. But then you need to know what, because this comes with a factor called a scope. So scope of a variable implies where the variable lives in, and lifetime is one more concept that says for how long does a variable live inside a scope. Okay. And we won't be discussing about lifetimes, but that is one of those core features, more advanced feature that you want to look into after this entire 5-day session is completed. Okay. I think the shadowing is clear for you, and we will go to the next topic of discussion. Before that, we would like to have another quiz time. Okay. I'm going to send you a polls with the, okay, this was done, right? Yeah, this was done. Yeah, I will launch the shadowing questions poll. You will be given again a 40 seconds and try to do the questions as fast as possible. Okay, I've launched the question. You're free to do the questions. Make sure you read the question correct, okay? You need to think about the questions before answering them.
Rishan, give 15-20 more seconds.
Okay, sure. So that will be a minute. With 60 seconds, we will close the poll. Your more time. Okay, I guess the time's up. Minute has been completed. Now you'll share the results. Yeah. So the point here is that most of them have given the wrong answer. For the first question, the constants are immutable variables. I literally told the point that constants are actually not immutable variables, because immutable variables and constants are two different concepts. So as far as you can shadow a variable, but you can do the same with constant. And moreover, constants as well, you can need to make constants statically typed. So constants are different from variables. So the question was made a bit tricky with adding the immutability, but then, you know, constants are not immutable variables. So the statement is false. And the second question, most of them has got it right. Yeah. So we'll go with the session. The third important topic that we'll be discussing is data types. So what are the different, so what is data type first, and then what are the different data types supported by Rust? Okay. So what is data types? Data type means the type of data that a variable can hold. Okay. So data held by a variable could be of some standard type, or some standard operations can be for you don't have to look into this definition. Just keep in mind that this is a type of data that a variable can receive. Okay. And this variable can use this data type to do some operations. For example, if I'm setting x to 5, and it would be an integer. Okay. And then y to 5.0, it would be a float. Now, can I add this x and y together? No, because one is integer and the other is float. And all programming, mostly like all programming languages won't allow you to add two different data types together unless you are going to convert them to a same format. So if you need to add an integer to a float, then first convert the integer to float and then add it with the float, and then your result would be a float entirely. Okay. So that is the concept. The concept is what is the type of data that a variable can receive, and that is what is defined by data type. Okay. So if you see, like let x equal I32 equal to 5 means I will talk about this I32 U32 soon right in this PPT. You don't have to worry about that. Now let x I32. Now it just means it is an integer. Okay, 32-bit integer. Now let x I32 equal to 5. Here, the data type of x is I32. Okay, so after typing the variable name, we'll put a colon and then we will type the data type. Data type is the kind of value that you can insert into this variable. Okay. Now, in the second example, let y is I32 equal to 5 would return an error. Why? Because I have given y gives I32 and y should accept an integer, whereas the input is actually a string. You can call it as a character because I have used double quotes. So it is not a character because I have used double quotes, so it's obviously a string. It is an and str in Rust by default. We will talk about this in a shorter time. Okay, the data types. So basically, you cannot allow different data types to be set to. So the LHS and the RHS should be same. So once you set the LHS, so the data type is sent in the left hand side, you should only put a corresponding value in the right hand side. Okay, that should match the data. Then good said, these are the examples of data types, primitive data types that you have. First one is scalar data type. Scalar data type means your variable can only have a single value. Okay, only a single value, like let x equal to 5, let x equal to 258, let x equal to 328, let x equal to 5.0, let x equal to my name. These are means what? You can only have, no, let x equal to my name. It's not, because there I have a list of characters, right? So I cannot use it. Okay. So scalar types includes integers, and integers, you need to be very careful and concentrated at these topics, because integers means you have two kinds of integers. You have unsigned integers and you have signed integers. U is used to represent unsigned. Unsigned means positive. Signed means both positive and negative. Okay. With 8, 16, 32, 64 and 128 bit. And then U size. U size is another greater size that can enable to represent a very large number again. Okay. U size means unsigned size, and then I size means this signed size. Okay. And this means after 128-bit, you can represent a higher integer using U size and I size. So 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, and 128-bit representations. And then you have the floating point. There are two different types of floating point scalar type in Rust, and that is F32 and the F64. F32 means 32-bit floating point number, and then F64 means 64-bit floating point number. Okay. Now there are Boolean. Booleans actually return either true or false, right? So the answer could be either true or false. So it is like returning 0 and 1 in C. So you can use logical implications using Booleans. Now, the next one is characters. Character means a single UTF ASCII code. Okay, it shall be enclosed within a single quotes. Now, as far as Rust is concerned, one of the interesting things that you should know is that you can even add an emoji as a character into Rust variable. Also, you can add any kind of language statements into Rust strings. Okay, and that's all concept. So any kind of like A, B, C, D, all these are characters that we will represent with the single quotes, and these are characters. Okay, I will show a small demo so that the concept is a bit clear for you guys. So let me say like let x equal to, so let x I32 equal to 5. So this is acceptable, and this is called as an integer in Rust. Okay, Now let y equal to, no, I need to give f32 equal to 5.0. This is a floating point number in Rust. Okay. And then let z equal to, which I would prefer to be a char, and is c. Okay. Now this is a character in Rust. Okay. I will be prompted with the spelling mistakes. I think it's a typo. Yeah. Again, spelling mistake. Okay. So this will be a character in Rust, and then we will have a bool let b, which is bool data type, set to true. We can have both the values, and this is Boolean in Rust. Okay. So X gives bool can have either true or false. Only two values are allowed. Here you can have any kind of value. Okay. Now I think that's all the four we discussed, right? Is there anything that I missed out of the scalar that 1, 2, 3, 4? Yes, exactly. We have discussed all the four scalar data types. Now we will see what is compound data type. So what is compound data type? Compound data type means you can have multiple values. So scalar only allows you to have a single value, whereas compound allows you to have multiple. Now there are actually two primitive sets of compound types, which includes tuples and arrays. The tuples, you need to consider tuples. So tuples are immutable and can contain elements of different data types together. So tuples are immutable. That means once set, you cannot change that tuple. Okay. Neither its size, neither its values, anything. So once set, a tuple is immutable in nature. So a tuple example is let tup, which gives I32, F64, U8. So you have three different data types allowed, and then you have three different values here. Okay, this is a tuple set. Now you cannot increase its size. Okay, this is immutable by definition. Okay, wait, we have one. Yeah. Now we have the array. Array, you know that arrays are of fixed length. It is actually a list. Okay, array is a list. So you can give a list like let A with the data type being I32 and the number being 5. That means is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I will show an example so you don't have to worry about it. So let T, you can give the first one to be I32, the second one to be a bool, the third one to be an F64, and I'm going to give the values as I32. So you can give any value, like I'm giving 500. And as far as I32 is concerned, you can also give minus 500. Everything is valid. But if you are giving U32, you can only have positive numbers. And then here you have true. Here you can have 45.0. So all this is allowed because the data type and its location should match. That is the only point of consideration. So I32 should be matching with minus 500, bool should be matching true, and then F64 with 45. I think that is clear. Okay. The next one is array. So this is a tuple. This is a tuple. Now we will have an array. So let A. Now, as far as array is concerned, you'll place it like this in square brackets. The first thing that you need to give is the data type. So what kind of data will the array hold? The second thing that you need to add is what are the number of elements that you can have? Okay. So let A I32 10. Okay, I have made a small mistake here. That is, you need to place a colon. Okay, let A I32. So I have given the data type. I have also given what are the number of elements that we require in the array. Now we will type in the values. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm not going to type all this 10. So I'm going to change this size to 5. It's only is okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So I've got 5 values in my array. So this is also a valid array. Okay. I don't have to look at these yellow colored messages called warnings because I haven't used these variables after defining them. That is why it is showing this yellow color. You don't have to look at them right now. So let A gives I32 5. So here you have to say the data type, and then here the number of terms the array should hold. And then you in the right hand side, you will just type the set of values. Okay. I think that's clear because there is not much of a very hard thing to learn in this. These are simple concepts that you should learn from the beginning. Try doing these examples. Okay, it would be more easier. We will talk about these when we are going to explain about X, then collections, etc. In general, this is an array, and there are some operations that you can do in array, and we will discuss them in the later sessions. And just have a general view of this is a tuple, this is an array, this is a variable setting. You can have integers, you can have floating points, you can have characters, you can have and these things are called scalar because you can only have one value. These things are called compound because you can have multiple values. Okay, with that being said, let's go to the slides again. Yeah, it's time for another quiz. So we have come up with a lot of quiz, right? Okay, and stop sharing this. I think the last one was being shared. Sorry. Okay, then I'm going to launch the next question. You'll be given another 40 seconds and get set. Yes, be ready.
Rishil, let's give 75 seconds this time.
75.
Seconds, yeah. 1 minute, 15 seconds. Let's give 1 minute, 15
Okay,
seconds
sure.
for everybody to answer. Yeah,
Sure.
thanks, bro.
Okay, I think it's time to close the board. Okay. I'll share the results. I think you can see the results right now. And the first question, yeah. Which of the following is not a scalar data? Most of them has given the right answer. So kudos to you. And then which of the following compound data type is not primitive in Rust? Yeah, 37% of you have given the right answer in that respect. Vec is not a primitive in Rust, and Vec is actually a collection that we will study later, I think in the fourth from the fourth session. Okay, then I'll stop sharing this and we'll come back. We'll go to the next slide. Now we'll talk about functions. What is a function? So function is actually simply a chunk of code that you can use over and over again rather than writing it at multiple times. So the use of functions makes your code so easier. You do not have to write the code again and again if it is stored in a function. Okay, because each time you can call that function in order to have the definition embedded on your program. Functions enable programs to break down and decompose a problem into smaller chunks. And this process or this methodology is called as functional programming or the procedural program. In procedural programming, what we do is we divide the entire program or the problem into a group of functions, each function solving a particular problem. Okay, then we combine all these functions together so that we can call these functions into the main function and then utilize the program to do the workflow. Functions are very important for you to study and identify because functions make your code so easier, and it is very, very important for us to know functions. Okay, so from this, we are going into some of the most important topics because functions is considered to be as one of the most important as far as Rust is concerned, or any language. Okay, the second thing is that how to define a function in Rust, how to return a value from a function in Rust, okay, and how to pass parameters to a function in Rust. So this is what we are going to learn right now. In Rust, if you need to define a function, you need to use a keyword called fn. Okay, fn. And after this fn keyword, you can give the function name. And after that, you will add this parenthesis and type in what are the different kinds of parameters that you are going to pass into the function along with their data type. Okay. And then you'll give this small arrow, and then you'll give another data type. And this is called as the return type. Okay. So what is the type of the data that the function is going to return? And then inside the block, you will type in what you need to return. And that means here x plus y. So this is a function to add two numbers, which takes input of x and y, which are both integers. And then it gives the result as an integer, because you know that when you add two integers, you get an integer in return, right? And then here we are going to add two integers and we are going to return it. Okay. Now, Rust doesn't care where we define our functions, only they are defined somewhere. So we will discuss these 2 points with a small example. Examples are more easier to understand, right? Yeah. So I'm going to define two variables. Let x equal to 5 and then let y equal to 3. Okay. And coming here, I'm going to define a function called add, fn add. Okay, this is how I will create a function. All right. You don't have to give the same name to the variables parameters. So you can give a, which is I32, and then b, which is I32, because you're taking two I32, and then you are giving another I32 as your result. Okay. So this is your return data type. So what is the data type of the result that we are going to give out? Okay. A and b should be I32. What do you want to return? You can return in two different types. So either you can write return a plus b. Okay. This is valid. This is valid. But in Rust, you can also return in a similar approach, that is just type a plus b. Just type a plus b. So a plus b will also return this one. Okay. But you cannot have both of them together. So I just do this is both of these implementations are same. Return a plus b or just giving a plus b. But and the problem of this a plus b is that it can be only used at the end of the function. So I would prefer you to use this itself, because this is the standard approach that we use in all languages. Return a plus b, because you can use it even inside a loop, even inside an if condition or anything, but you cannot use the a plus b in a similar way. Okay, so it would be better if you use return a plus b, because that is a standard approach of returning from functions. Okay, I believe you get the point. Now what happens is that the function takes two, a and b, and then it adds and then returns. Now what happens is that I'm going to call that function here. Let z equal to add and then x comma y. So this is my function definition, and this is my function call. Okay, now I'm calling the defined function inside the main function. Okay, you see that add x and then y. So I have passed my parameters as x and y. So z should contain the sum, right? You need to check that. We will check that using println and place it. So we will write plus equal to, yeah. Now we will write x comma y comma z. So we'll try to print this. What happens? Take some time, yeah. 5 plus 3 is equal to 8, right? So x was 5 or y was 3, and our z is add comma x, and it returns. It returns means it sets the value z equal to the sum of a and b, and that is how we will get this z's value being printed on here. Yeah, I think that is clear. The second point that I defined in my PPT was the order of definition of functions does not matter. That means now I have defined this function add above the main function, right? So I can use this. In C, you can only access a function defined above, or you need to declare it above the function in which you are going to call it. Okay. Okay. So you need to define this function before the function in which you will call this. So that means if you need to call add x, y, then you need to define it above this function which holds the add x, y. That means you need to define it here. But then in Rust, it is actually not a problem. It is not a matter of problem. What you need to do is you need to just come here and space. The function will still work because the compiler is intelligent. So most of them call it in that way, that the Rust compiler is comparatively intelligent so that it can identify the function definition that is being placed at anywhere. So you do not have to give even the declaration. And here there is no declaration, you just directly implement the function. Okay. So I believe a simple function is clear to you. Now, I think Deepak has got an assignment for you at the end of this session. And if you wish, then you can try this as well. You just try to create a simple calculator program which has 4 functions: addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Okay, you can go to the internet and search what are the operators for multiplication. You might know what are the operators for multiplication and division. In division, for division, you'll have this, and for multiplication, you'll have this operator. Okay, multiplication. You'll have this operator. And yeah, with that, you need to create 4 functions: add, sub, div, mul, and then you need to implement a calculator. Okay, try to implement it and try to search in the internet, use all the resources so that it will help you to learn and implement code. So practice makes us perfect, and Rust is one such language where you require much of a practice. So try to create a calculator program. It is going to be easy for you. Okay. Now, we have discussed functions. So again, we are going to have a quiz. I think we had a lot of quiz, and it would be interesting to have another quiz again. I'm going to launch the function called 5. You'll be given a minute to answer, and please get set ready. Yeah. Time starts now. You can start answering. Okay, the time has come to an end. Yeah, then I'll share the results. Well, the first question's answer was Fn, and most of them has got it right. Yeah. The second question, 54% of them have got it right. The answer is false because the order of definitions matter in Rust in order to access them. No, it doesn't. Okay, we have discussed the topic, so it should be understandable for you guys. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing and yeah. Go to the next. So now we are going to discuss about the control flow and if-else statement. So what is if-else? The word suggests what it means. So if a condition, then do this, and else, then do this. That means if a condition is passed, or if a condition is true, then you are supposed to do something. And if it is not, then you're supposed to do something else. Okay. And that is what the if-else asks. So the compiler first checks the if statement. The condition passes, then it will just execute it and get out of the loop, not the loop, the block. But if it does not pass, then it will check the else block, and then it will execute what is inside the else block. Okay. And then we also have an else if block. So in order to have multiple conditions, we have if, else if, and then else. And we'll have some pretty good examples to get the idea. If you look at here, I'm going to set my x value to some value. and then I'm going to check. So if x is less than 2, I'm going to print x is less than 2. Okay, so it is less than 2. Else if x equal to 2, then I'm going to print it is equal to 2. Else, that means x is greater. So obviously, if a number is less than 2, then it will be printed. If it is equal, then okay. If a number is less than or equal to, then the other condition would be it should be greater than, right? So the else condition would check whether if x is greater than 2, and if it is greater than 2, then it will print it. I think the program is itself self-sufficient, but anyway, I'm going to do a small demo of this as well. Okay. So let me say my let x equal to 56. Okay. Now I'm going to check if x is less than 2, then I need to print ln x is less than 2. Okay. Now else if x equal to 2, and ln x is equal to 2. Else ln x is greater than 2. Yeah. So you see logic. What is here? So we have set the value of x equal to 56. Now it is actually greater than 2. So obviously this is the thing that should be printed if we have wrote the right code. We'll see what happens. Go to the cargo run and take some time. Yeah, x is greater than 2. And you know the logic is right. So x is 56. So it is printing x is greater than 2. I will just put x equal to 0. Then what happens? These are simple things with the if else. So it is less than 2 in this case. So x is less than 2. It is printing what happens. So it checks the logic and then it does accordingly. Okay, so it checks the condition and it does accordingly. That is what happens with the if else statement. So the first session, we will cover all these simple topics. So you need to try it out today so that this will be very easy for you. Okay. Now the second topic that we will discuss is loops. So what do you do when you want to print hello world 10 times? Are you going to just type in println hello world, println hello world, println hello world, and then type it 10 times? That's how assembly programmers used to do perhaps then, and we came up with loops, right? So loops are a sequence of instructions that can be repeated continuously without doing much of a work from our side. So, but we need to be intelligent while writing loops. If we make mistakes, then it could eat up all our memory because it can go unendingly, which is actually a big problem. So we need to be very careful while handling loops. And the statement inside a loop can be executed any number of times as we specify. We should specify the number of times or else it takes it to be infinity. Okay, and it is dangerous. If you see that loops, we have 3 different kinds of loop. Okay, and initially the first thing is a loop. So an example is to have a loop. So I think it's a bit confusing for you, but then we have a loop named loop in Rust, whereas most languages only allow you to have while and for loop. Okay, whereas in Rust you can have a loop named loops. Okay, I will show an implementation. So this is actually an unending loop. Very just concentrate to me that it is an unending loop by default. Okay, a loop with the name loop is actually an unending loop by default, and we need to use a break in order to come out of the loop. Okay, I will show a good example so that you get the concept. Very simple. We say that let x equal to 0. Okay, now we will just change this to count equal to 0. Okay, and then I'm going to loop. I'm going to print ln hello. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to increment by count by 1. And this means count shall be incremented by 1. This is equivalent to typing count is equal to count. Wait 1 second. Count plus 1. Okay. So count plus equal to 1 is equivalent to writing count equal to count plus 1. Okay. But the problem here, as you can see, that I have defined my count to be mutable, right? And then I'm trying to change it. So you need to make this mute. Right. Now the error will automatically disappear. Okay. Now what I need to give is that I need to give an if condition. If my count is greater than or equal to 5, then I shall break. So this starts the count from 0, then it will execute with 1, then it will execute for 2, then it will execute for 3. But then what happens if the count is actually greater than or equal to 5, then it will break. We'll check what happens. So count the number of times this is printed, because that is important for us to understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in order to print the hello world 5 times, what we did was we set a count variable to 0, and then we inside this loop. So this is called as a loop, which has a name loop. Okay, it is a loop. Just have that concept. Okay, don't confuse yourself. That is it. Then we will have a print ln, which prints hello world, and then we will increment the count by 1 each time the loop executes. So the loop is like it will execute from the first statement, and it checks whether the count is greater than. So initially the value is 0, it increments to 1. So obviously what happens, the count is greater than or equal to 5, it checks, but the count is actually not greater than or equal to 5, right? So initially the count will be 1, then you don't have to do anything with that. So you will just execute the same loop again and then again and then again until the count is actually greater than or equal to 5. So when the count becomes 5, it stops the loop and it breaks out of the loop. Okay, so that is when the printing actually ends. I believe you get the concept. And this is how a loop is implemented. A loop is implemented in Rust. Now we will have another loop called while loop. So here we will write while count is less than 5, println hello. Okay. Then I need to increment my count here. Okay, so this is called increment. Now what happens? It checks and you'll see the output so that you will get a good concept. Yes, again, 5 times we are displaying hello world using the while. So in while, we will give the condition initially, whereas in loop, it is an unending loop and we need to specify the condition inside, and we should also have a break statement in order to get out of that loop. Okay. Whereas in while, we will give the condition just after the while keyword, and then we will have the body, which is println, and then we will have an increment for the count. Okay. So this is simple. So it checks each time it will check the condition, and then only it will execute the body of the loop rather than the if condition. Now we will have one more loop, and that is the for loop, and for I in 0 to 4. So no, I will go 0 to 5 because that was a similar implementation that we did right now. Yeah. Println. Need to have this. Okay. So now what happens is this 0 to 5 means you can, okay, here you don't want this count variable because we have actually implemented the counting operations into the for loop. Here we have an auto increment also. Okay, we also have an auto increment. Let me say now in here, what you will do is initially it will run for I is equal to 0, then for I equal to 1, and then for I equal to 2, and then for I equal to 3, and it will run till I equal to 4. So this 5 will not be included. Okay, so it is like 0 to n minus 1, so it's 4 times. Okay, So it is executed 5 times because it starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is 5 times. Okay. But then the 5 will not be executed. Okay. So it will be executed 5 times, but not the 5 value will not come. To check that, what you need to do is just print ln here. I would say like I is I. Just simple. Now what happens is that you come here, start run, and what happens is take some time to execute. Yeah. So I0, I0, that's not the time. Okay. I0, I1, I2, I3, and then I4. You don't have the I5. Okay. So this is inclusive. That means you'd or only include all these things, and that is our purpose. So this is a for loop in Rust. So while and then for loop. I think we have come to an end for today's session. So we will do one more quiz before ending the session. And yeah, get ready because you're going to answer the questions for loops. I've learned the question. You will be given a minute to answer. Please do answer it after thinking.
Yeah, 75 seconds. Huh?
Okay, 75
Because I
seconds.
think, yeah, I think it's better to give a couple of more seconds.
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Rishi.
I think, yeah, we have time. Okay, we have 125. Yeah, check the options. I think you can see the answers right now. The first question, most of them have given the right answer, and that's a loop. Yeah, so we are not discussing that. And the second question, which of these? Yeah, that's also loop. Yeah, so you got it right. And I'll stop sharing the answers.
Hey, Rishi.
Thank you for holding with me.
Hello.
I believe that I had a good time with this session.
Hey, Rishi.
Hello.
Can you take up a question in the chat box
Yeah, sure.
before stop sharing your screen?
Open. Do we have? No, we don't have a dual loop in Rust.
No. There is a question. He's saying, hello, Rishi sir. In your previous example of for loop,
Previous
you
example
didn't.
of for loop, you didn't mention mute before I. How did the value got mutated and printed? Oh, well, it is a local variable, so it is obviously created, and then you can actually increment it. As far as for loops are considered, you can have it, and you can access the variable inside also. You don't have to set it to be mute in for loops, because the variable only lives inside that for loop. Okay, you cannot access it outside, and the for loop implementation actually allows you to do it. And what was the next question? I don't see any other question. Do you? Okay, I believe you got it right. Okay, thanks. And do we have a do while? No, we do not have a do while. We do not. We don't have a do while in Rust.
If you demo,
Should we need to use the
Oh,
sign
okay.
keyword u and
There's a
I
question
memory 32
regarding that.
allocation every time declares variable like integer and float? It is not actually essential. That means you can have either two choices. If you are doing it in the static typing, then you need to represent or you need to type it every time before declaring the variables. But if you have a value to be like put into the function, then the compiler automatically identifies it. But it is always better to give the data type to the variable, which includes the 32-bit or 64-bit with the U or I. Yeah. And how to print to var in printer. I have shown this example. I think you are listening obviously, because I have shown this example, printing to var in printer. All you need to do is just put two constructor loops that means two braces, and then just locate it correctly. Okay, that will be fine. And is there any other questions that I am missing out? No, open is 2 questions. I have answered this question, so.
All right, so guys, if there's any other question, then please let us know in the QA chat. So can we implement the counting part of loop anywhere or at a specific position? Rishan, if you can address that.
Can we implement the counting part of loop anywhere or at a specific position? Oh, well, okay, now I get the question. Well, the counting part is literally important. So the position is important. If you, I will actually show an example to get it. Okay. The fact I really love that question, and it is really nice because you should really ask that question. But it is not a problem with for loop because you don't have that condition. But then in the loop questions, you will have a doubt regarding that, and it is an important question of discussion. Is the only problem in here. Okay, so this is where you ask the question, right? If count greater no control y no control z control y, right. Yeah, now if you see, and I print right now, I will get the output printed. It will take some time. I'll get the output printed 5 times. Okay, but if your question is concerned, then I can just give the condition here. Why couldn't I do it? It is also valid, right? Then if I'm going to execute the code, you can see the output. It's very important question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, but then there is another implementation. We can do this here. Okay. So the position actually is important. Now you only have it 4 times. See, so the position is important because you need to first give the condition. So what you need to print or what you need to do should be given first, and then only you'll give the auto increment as well as the condition. Okay, but then there are some cases where you will give this auto increment at the second part, and then you can give the checking condition at here. Okay, now it is also valid because if you see that it is 0, initially it checks and then it prints this and then it increments. Okay, now it comes here, it checks again, and then so what happens? Initially it will go for as many times it checks. Okay, so you can have different positions, but make sure that the position is corresponding to what you are going to do. Those the statement should be equivalent to the position of the if condition. Okay, so if you place in a different position, then the number of times it gets printed will obviously change. Okay, but here there is no problem because we have added an equal to sign, but then if we change it, I do think it will have a difference. So the position has an important, and the question is really valid, but then it is always, so what is mute? Mute means mutability. Mutability means you can change the value of a variable. Okay, so the position does matter. I don't know his name, Dinesh. I think it's Dinesh. I don't know its name, but then yeah, it does matter. Okay, the position does matter. What is mute? I think I have answered what is mute. there any other question? And yeah, how Rust is different from Python? Okay, so Rust is entirely different from Python because Python is literally it's a dynamically typed language, so you don't have to give the data type. And moreover, Python uses garbage collector. Python is comparatively slower when compared to Rust because Rust is ranked at third position in the speed of execution. Okay, whereas C comes at the first, C++ comes second, and then followed by Rust. But Python is slower, but it has got a very large community. It is used for machine learning and all other purposes, but you cannot use it in low-level implementations, and also it is not an ideal choice for blockchain and other big issues. So if you need speed, then consider Rust and C++, etc. And but if you need safety, then it's better to consider Python. And Rust comes with a combination of both, and that is why we would prefer Rust over Python. Okay. So how to open PowerShell to run program? What's the shortcut for that? I have noted and have a technical question service. Okay, are you Malayali? Oh yeah, I am a Malayali. Okay. Anyway, well, how to open? It is simple. First, you need to click the start button and then just type terminal or just free to type PowerShell. Okay, just type it and just click it. That's it. You're going to get the PowerShell. Now you need to come to the directory. How to come to the directory? That is another important part, and you'll see how to come to the directory. It's simple. So you need to use this change directory command to go to the next row, and you can use ls to list what are the directories which are present inside. Okay. Hello.
What you are saying, sharing is not visible.
Okay. Because okay. Okay, you could see that this you can see my bar here, like my start button.
Nope.
Okay, you cannot see
We
my
are
start.
saying right now, thank you. Like,
okay, so in the start button, you just type CMD or PowerShell. Okay, PowerShell, and then click the PowerShell option. That will give you a terminal kind of this one. Okay, now you can see the PowerShell, right?
yes.
Yes. So then initially you'll have it at a location called your user location, and you can come to your required location using the cd command. So initially I will be at my user, and that is Rishi, and that's my name. So then we will have cd OneDrive. That is as far as this is my set of folders, and for your case it is going to differ. Okay, so you need to know what are the folders and the path. Then I will go to my desktop, and then autocomplete is present if you click the tab, and then cd, then my folder is actually presented here. So this is how I come to the folder. Okay, then my project is present inside the Rust. Okay, so you see, now if you click ls, you can see what are inside my project. You can have the src. I'm going inside the src. I'm going to list, you can see the main.rs, which is actually present. So this is how we work with PowerShell, but it is very important for you to know the path where you are having your folder. Okay, and it is going to differ as far as our systems do differ. Okay, and is what is the question, sir? What is mute, sir? Is there any online compiler? Yes, you can use an online compiler for Rust, and that is the that was present in the documentation. If you just go to the Rust or online the official site for Rust, then you can actually try it without an physical compiler or just downloading the compiler. You can just do it online by just going to that site. I believe we can. I just showed it in the beginning. You can just go to the Rust official and then go to the installation, and you can have an option called try Rust without installing. Okay, with that you can actually utilize the online compiler for Rust. I won't suggest it because you might require the terminal for many purposes. Yeah. And is there any other question we have, sir? How to open PowerShell? I have answered this question. And then because when I see Rust, it like damn. So when I see Rust, it like damn. I don't get it. Sir, can you show in screen? What should I show in screen? Gautam, can you make the question more like understandable, like what do you want me to show in screen? Aro, Bharat, Chandro, like I didn't really understand it. Is Rust secure language? Yeah, it is secure for web. It is implemented in Web3 as well. And WASM, blockchain. So can we do everything on the online compiler? No, you cannot do everything on the online compiler. Especially you cannot take the values from the terminal, which we will do when we are going to learn about the input system. Like how can you take a user input? And then there is a problem while working with files. I don't know, we might not discuss files here, but then in long term, you will have to use files. You cannot use files in the online compiler. And there might not also be all the required kind of dependencies. Okay. So it is better to always have a compiler installed on your physical system rather than relying onto the online compiler. But then as far as we are doing these exercises right now, you can actually use it. Okay. Because many hackers easily breaking loopholes of Rust with Golang. My friend, I don't know about these details. So like hackers breaking loopholes in Rust. I don't know. So like so cybersecurity field regarding Rust is concerned. So in what fields Rust is? Rust is used in all those fields which I have mentioned earlier, which includes blockchain, IoT, which is low-level programming, and networking, operating systems. Literally, you can use Rust in anywhere. In web also, it is present in web, and I have discussed about that in the beginning. Okay, I think I have answered the question. So Deepak,
Yes, Rishin, first of all, thank you so much for such a wonderful session. I think it was quite fun for everyone to just be here and ask questions, because the interactions show that students were quite inclined with what they were learning today. But guys, the thank you note that you are seeing on Rishin's screen is not the end of the session, because we also have a quiz, the overall quiz and an assignment for you. And I'll just put that in the chat box, right? So if you see the chat box, you will find, so I've shared the quiz and assignment links twice. So as I've put it in the message that these assignments and quizzes will be, evaluated during the certification process. You also have to understand that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to score less in the quizzes, but your attempt is what makes it important. And you have to try to find the right answers. But then being wrong is not a problem, because we are here to learn. And once you complete the quizzes, whichever the most tough questions would be, where most of the people would be going wrong, we will be addressing that as well. Try the assignments. Apart from what Rishin has already discussed, the things that you should be trying your hand in during the session, just make sure that you try the other assignment here as well. So the quiz will be open for next 1 hour. So take your time. And the assignment will be open till tomorrow. So first of all, let me address the question for the quiz. So quiz will be open for next 1 hour, and it's quite crucial for you to attend it. As I said before, that don't worry about being wrong or anything. Let me also tell you that uh, that the participation is what we always keep at the top level. I mean, if you don't know the answer, doesn't mean that you shouldn't participate and attend the quiz. So your participation is going to be a dominating factor when uh, we are giving these certifications, right? And the assignment will be open till Monday. Monday is the second session of module 2. We will have Rishin again for the session the same time, and the same link will be active till then. So make sure you ready yourselves for that. And there were some questions regarding the PPTs. So guys, the YouTube video will be uploaded on the session. You don't need the PPTs, just go and check out the YouTube video for whatever references you have to take and whatever you think you missed because each of the slides had their own context, which Rishin was explaining. So make sure that you do that, right? Okay, we'll give another 5 minutes more for before we end the session today, just to make sure that everybody gets the link to complete. And of course, prepare yourselves for the next session. With that, I'm not sure if Praveen sir is here. If he is here, then great. But other than that, Deepak, if there's anything you would like to say to the students, and same goes for Rishin, if you would like to add
I am also
something.
here, Deepak.
Yeah, that's great, sir. Praveen sir. So I think you were there, if not
Yes.
distracted or occupied with
Mhm.
something else. So if you have any comments, would love to hear it from.
No, I think so. I personally believe that it was a very good beginning for the Rust the following sessions, and I think whatever we have done today, I'm sure in 1 hour, 1.5 hours time, it is not possible to go and do extensive coding there. But then my only request is that we will be getting to much more complex topics in the subsequent sessions. So please, make your hands dirty and try to practice things, and do ask questions on our Discord if you get into. Ideally speaking, what we want to do here, we want to equip you, or we want to enable you to go and find path of yourself. I mean, such like Rishin mentioned and Deepak also talked about it. So such a complex thing that ultimately at the end of the day, you have to start, owning things there, start taking the responsibility, right? So please do take responsibility of your own learning. We are here to provide you, uh, guide you the path that you should take. And I think we will not leave any stone unturned, for that process. But do make effort. And I think I'm hoping that the quizzes that we have introduced from today, that would have, giving you some more perspective, and that would have forced you to kind of keep your learning, learning temperament, on, and you would have consumed more. So I think I'm pretty happy about it, Deepak.
Yes, so am I, sir. And of course, it was great to have Rishin here start and do the beginning for Rust. And guys, Rust is the foundation that you will be laying down for Substrate, which will be led by our Deepak Chaudhary here. And of course, you know where to reach out to us if you have any doubts. And that is the Discord server. We have thousands of other people and participants and experts over there who, are readily available to answer your queries. So make sure you do that. You get that. I hope you have received the link for the quiz and the assignment. If not, just let me know. We'll end this call in next couple of minutes. And so I'll come to Deepak Chaudhary and Rishin. If there's any final comments, guys, would you like to make for this session before we call it a day?
Yeah, nothing special. Like as tomorrow is Sunday, so please practice what we have discussed today, and only practice can make you the better Rust developer, I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deepak. Okay, so Gopi, can you please send the link again? Yeah, absolutely. Let me share the link with you again. Yeah, here's the link. Also, guys, remember that you have to register your teams on events.ibc.media. I'm sure most of you are doing it, but uh, I cannot emphasize the importance of it enough. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do it. I'm sharing the link here. So one of your team members can go and register themselves. But what you need to understand that is that you have to make sure that other details of your other team members has to be there. If you're a solo member, then just go and make sure you put the option that you're a single developer, you're a solo developer, and you are a one member team. So we'll allot you other team members and other people who will help you in your project. So make sure you do that. I've shared the link once again. So just go and register your teams over there. Is it possible to have Rishin sir LinkedIn? Yes, let me share Rishin's LinkedIn with you. So Rishin will also be available on our Discord server. Make sure you connect. You connect with him on LinkedIn or join us on Discord and ask questions and queries. And is there anything else? I guess not. So guys, I think that would be okay. So yes, Dinesh, I think you have a doubt. If there is not an answer in quiz. So do you mean you do not know the answer or what exactly? Because I'm not able to understand you, Dinesh.
I think what he's saying is that if he thinks that the answer is not there in one of the choices, what should he do? So in that case, Dinesh, go and select the best possible answer that you think, and please, if you have any such case, please raise it with on the IBC media team, and they'll take a look at that.
Yeah, definitely will do that. All right, guys. So that's it for today. Thank you once again, Rishin. Thank you, Praveen sir. Thank you, Deepak Chaudhary, for joining us today, and obviously my participants for this wonderful participation and enthusiasm. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Okay, can you please tell me the meaning of guaranteed output? Rishin, Deepak Chaudhary, guys, you would want to take that?
Guaranteed output means there is something which will be shown in the output. Yeah, there are some questions where you see this guaranteed output.
Okay, so Dinesh, you don't have to
If
take the
there
quiz
is, if
questions
you
over here, I think.
sure about the answer, then the option would be guaranteed output.
Yeah, so guys, we are not addressing the quiz questions over here. Okay, we will take it up next time. Not the questions, but we will take up the answers that the questions that people have missed on a larger scale. So avoid asking the questions that are part of the quiz. All right, so guys, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Have a great Sunday. Try to work on everything that has been discussed here by Rishin and Deepak, and of course Praveen sir. And we will see you all on Monday. And the time will just fly by if you keep on the effort, and we'll see you all very soon. And thank you, Rajesh, for joining. And Rajesh is most of you already know Rajesh. So Rajesh is the person who is coordinating and doing the outreach and connecting with most of you, and ensuring that all your participation and databases are intact, so that when we are doing the certifications, when we are working on your project participation, we know where you stand. Okay, guys, thank you so much. See you all soon, very soon on Monday at the same time, at the same link. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you all.